Hello, hello. So I am in Edinburgh now, and the hostel I'm staying in is super loud, so we're taking a geek about geeks to the street. Will this be an absolute failure and just a train wreck? Probably, but let's find out together. A couple of weekends ago, I went to PragoFFest, which is in Prague, Czech Republic. And this, more than any other convention so far, really felt like conventions I knew back home. In Japan and in India, they were conventions, but really I'd classify them more as expos. They took place in big spaces with lots of different tables, and, maybe they had a main stage, maybe they didn't, but they didn't really have a lot of programming in the traditional sense. But this one, man, it felt just like stuff in Memphis. It took place in a school, so it had a bunch of different classrooms open with all different kinds of tracks of different experiences or topics that you wanted to look at. Just really any little geeky thing you had your heart set on, there was probably some programming for that. And I was super excited for this convention, and really I did have a great time, but there was one little problem. It was entirely in Czech. And I understand that right now you're probably going, obviously it was in Czech. Took place in the Czech Republic. What exactly did you expect? You see, there's kind of been this one big looming awkward question over my entire Watson project. If you don't speak their language, how are you gonna talk to them? The answer I've always had is, well, with the people I'm specifically gonna be talking to, for them to be obsessed with the things I'm gonna be looking at, they kind of have to have some kind of basis in the English language. Like, if you're gonna be so obsessed with Harry Potter or Superman, you're gonna reach a point in your geekdom where you wanna read it in its original language, just so you can get all of the nuances of what's going on. And, while this thinking isn't wrong, it's definitely not right. So I'm at day one of the convention, and there's this big, huge crowd in front of the convention space, and I have no idea what's going on. So I see this girl, and she's got a backpack just covered with Harry Potter pens, like quotes from the books, from the movies, everything in English. And using my deductive reasoning skills, I determined that she must speak English. So I walk up to her and I ask her, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you speak English?" And she goes, no English. Come to find out later on at the convention, this girl is in charge of all of the programming for all the Harry Potter events. Quite possibly the biggest Harry Potter fan at this convention does not speak English. She, like so many other geeks in the Czech Republic and rest of the world, grew up on dubs and translations. Doesn't make her love any less intense or meaningful, just makes my job a little harder. So at day one, hour one of this convention, I realized, I'm not gonna understand 95% of the things that are gonna go on here, am I? Every panel was in Czech. Everybody spoke to each other in Czech. The program, the schedule, the signs, all in Czech. It's quite possibly one of the strangest phenomenons to sit in a panel on a topic you know a lot about and know exactly what the presenter is saying, yet not understand a word of it. Like this panel I went to on the new Series of Unfortunate Events show.
Zase trošku onanuje nad tím, jaký prostě je a že prostě akurát zase tam do toho dává ty svoje ksichty. My se určitě dostaneme k tomu, jak podává Olafa Neil Patrick Harris v tom seriálu. A samozřejmě, na úvod vám řeknu, taky to není dokonané. Než ty knížky, ale přitom mně přijde, že mnohem víc spolíhá na takovou tu slapstick komedii, prostě takový ten úplně nejjednodušší humor, prostě, který se dá dělat.
Right, so I know that he's talking about that Jim Carrey in his performance of Count Olaf used more slapstick comedy than Neil Patrick Harris. I know that because I know that about the movie and the show. I just only understood about 2 words of that. Also, I threw a little bit longer clip in there for you, just so you could get a little taste of what it feels like to sit through an hour-long presentation in a language you do not understand. It's also incredibly frustrating to sit in the panel and have things to say, have opinions, but not be able to communicate them. But, by the end of this convention, I kind of realized something. Maybe I don't get a voice in this conversation. Maybe in a Czech convention for Czech people, my opinion doesn't really matter. Excuse me, I'm an American. I'm pretty sure my opinion always matters. But these people made a convention for themselves in their own language. Why should they have to cater for a random English speaker who just kind of wandered in? And don't get me wrong, when people realized I didn't understand a word they were saying, they were super nice and super accommodating. But this is their convention. These are their things. And you know what? It's okay. There are so many things in this world that are made specifically for English speakers that maybe there can be one event that we don't necessarily get to participate in. But do you know what might be the craziest thing in this whole weekend? I actually kind of felt like I made friends. Passion, love, enthusiasm. Those things kind of transcend language. And just sitting in a room with other people who you know love this stuff as much as you do, it forms a community. You don't really need to speak to one another. So, PragoFest. Couldn't communicate with anybody, didn't understand what was going on most of the time. An absolute failure. But learned a lot about myself and my place in the world. So maybe a success? Maybe? I don't know.